What goes into the PSR, pre-sentence report, before you report to federal prison? If you're one of our viewers that's awaiting sentencing, you're going to have a pre-sentence investigation interview that leads to the pre-sentence report. The pre-sentence report is used by the judge to help determine sentencing, but that's not all, folks. The Bureau of Prisons uses the PSR as the guidebook to you for your case management team or your unit team once you enter federal prison. The PSR examines several areas, and it starts with offense conduct. What was your instant offense all about? The next section is criminal history. They can go back 15 years, regardless of what you were told. It is 15 years, according to 4B 1.1 and 1.2 in the United States Sentencing Guideline Book, updated in 2023. The next thing that they look for is victim impact. How did you hurt your victims? Is there restitution? And regardless of what your brain tells you, drugs are not a victimless crime. You're sitting in that investigation. They want to know if you realize that the drugs affected the people that used the drugs, their families, their lives, the impact it had on your family. Speaking of family, the next section is your personal family background, and it can go all the way back to your childhood, and oftentimes does. Were you adopted like me? Were you raised in a single-parent household? Were you raised in a single-parent household that had no parents present? Did you have two working parents that loved on you all the time? Were you raised by your grandmother or another relative? Do you have relatives, siblings, parents that have also been to prison? All these things make an impact in the sentencing and also once you get to the BOP. The pre-sentence investigation then looks at your physical and mental health. Do you have health issues that are going to prevent you from being in general population in a regular institution? Now, there is no health issue that will preclude you from going to prison. Basically, as some people will confirm in the comments probably, if you can breathe, you can do time. The Bureau of Prisons has 6 medical facilities across the country, and each one of those complexes has every security level at 3 different institutions. This section is not just going to address your physical health, it'll address your drug needs and your mental health needs as well. Are you partially autistic? Do you have learning disabilities? All these things are going to be documented in the PSR, and the probation officer that's not your friend is going to say that it's there to help you, and it might not necessarily help. It may seem silly, but the next section is very important. It's educational and vocational. If you have graduated high school or had a GED, then you need to let them know that, and you need to have proof. Either proof that they can call and verify on the phone, see at some secure website, or if you have the paperwork, but they're going to want a certified copy. It doesn't matter if you have a college degree, because I have a college degree, and they didn't say in my PSR that I graduated high school. The dumbass educational supervisor at FPC Montgomery signed me up for GED until my mother could go to my high school, and I'm 30 years removed, and send that into the prison. Are there vocational programs you've taken? Are there vocational programs you haven't finished? In this case, if there's vocational programs you haven't finished and the BOP offers it, they may actually try to put you at an institution where you can finish that certificate. Next, they're going to go over your employment history. What kind of jobs have you had? What kind of career do you have? Are you in a career-minded field or a job-minded field? They're going to take your employment history all the way back to the beginning. Then, the PSR is going to address your financial condition. Do you have a bunch of stocks and bonds and mutual funds? Do you have several properties that might be able to go towards restitution? This is where they're going to assess that and turn it over to another division in the U.S. Attorney's Office that'll address your forfeiture if you have restitution. Now, if you have a good probation officer that actually understands what they're doing, the next section is sentencing options. They may go over the guideline table with you and the offense conduct from the guidelines book and tell you what you might be looking at and what they might recommend in the PSR. But you'll know what they recommend when you get the PSR back. The final part, probably the most important part, and the one that Federal Prison Tips helps out the most with, is the statement of the defendant. This is a chance to tell your story. Now, when you tell your story, you don't want to just talk about how great you are. You do want to say how great you are and some of the accomplishments that you've had, but you also want to address the crime, or the instant offense as they call it. What led to that crime and what's going to prevent you from doing that crime again. Let them know that you're remorseful. Let them know you're accepting responsibility and that you have hurt people. You know what people that you've hurt. And the hurt can just be internal to your own family. Don't forget, when you're writing your own personal statement, if we're not helping you with it, that your family is most likely losing the breadwinner and your children are losing a parent in years that they cannot get back. If you have questions about your PSR, or you'd like us to help you with your PSR and help guide you through the prison experience, please check us out online at federalprisontips.com and like, share, subscribe, and send us a DM or a comment.